All right, Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Welcome to our Wednesday class on Yalkut Yosef. And right before we dive into our next topic, which is probably one of the most complicated halachot in all of Hilchot Shabbat, it's the halachot of borer, sifting or taking the good from the bad or the bad from the good on Shabbat. We'll talk about all these issues. It's going to be a bit complicated, but Baruch Hashem, very useful. But just to remind you, because I feel like I should have done this last class before we ended, a little bit summary of what we learned last week, which I think is very fundamental and important. We learned what is Kli Rishon and what is Kli Sheni. Kli Rishon is the first item that is placed on the fire or on the plata, like the actual pot. So if I take the pot and I put it on the plata, it's a Kli Rishon. Even if I remove it from the plata, from the hot plate, but as long as it's still hot, it's considered Kli Rishon. If I pour from that pot into a cup, into a bowl, into something else, that cup or bowl turned into kli sheni. Halacha is that only kli rishon can cook, which means if I throw a non-cooked potato into there, or I throw an apple that hasn't been cooked into there, that would be considered that I'm cooking it. But if I throw it into the kli sheni, into the cup that came from the pot, even though, and this could be strange to you, but even though the temperature of the water in this second cup, in this klisheni, can be as hot as some other pot that even never even reached it while it was on the flame, still, once it's klisheni, no matter the temperature, we just accept this, it does not cook. Right? So I think those are the foundations of last
Steve,
week.
sorry, can I ask you something? So the water, the hot water that we use on Shabbat, that should
Yes.
be clear rishon, and then we put it in a glass as kli sheni, but we don't do that. We put it in a glass as rishon, and then into another glass for kli sheni.
Ah, very good. So what you're describing right now is how to make tea. Am I right? You're referring to tea.
Yeah, tea
Okay.
or
So
coffee or yeah.
as we learned, there are only two things that halachically are considered kalei bishul, and we mentioned this last week, that for those items, even kli sheni could cook them. One of them the Gemara mentions, so even Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, everybody agrees because the Gemara mentions it. It's an egg. An egg could even be cooked in that kli sheni because it's considered kalei bishul, easily cooked. But according to Sephardim, there's only one more item in all of the foods that is considered kalei bishul, easy to be cooked, which is tea. All
What about
right?
coffee?
No, coffee not.
So coffee, I can do it directly from the water, put in a glass with coffee.
So if you put it in klisheni, yeah. Some coffees have already been roasted and they don't have any seasoning or hell or um,
Mm.
like if it has spices in it that haven't been cooked, I wouldn't put it directly from the kli rishon. Kli sheni definitely, but if it's just coffee and it's been roasted, then even that you could put directly from under because we hold that en bishul achar bishul. Maybe since you mentioned this, we'll mention another interesting halacha and a difference between the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim. There was a rabbi called Magen Avraham. He wrote a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Magen Avraham says no. You should know that there are more items that are considered easily cooked, not just an egg and tea. He mentions that if you take an onion and cut it into very, very thin slices, I guess the Ashkenazim used to do that, and you put it into your soup on Shabbat. The soup wasn't on the flame. The soup is klisheni. The klirishon was the pot. From the pot, you put it into the soup. So now my soup is klisheni. According to Sephardim, it doesn't cook unless it's tea or egg. He says, no, even if you put those chopped little pieces of onions, since they're so thin, they're going to be cooked. Now, maybe he's right, maybe he's not right in reality, but we don't follow the reality. Rav Avadia says we follow the minhag. Since the minhag, according to the Gemara, was an egg, and according to the Sephardi tradition, only tea, then that would not be considered cooking. And there's another rabbi called Sefer HaYereim that he talks about the bread. And he says if you take pieces of challah, chop up challah and put it into your soup, even though the soup is klisheni, since the bread can easily be cooked in the water, you're also cooking the bread. Now that's already a very, very, very big chumrah. You know why it's so chamur? For two reasons. Number one, because he's holding that bread is from kalea bishul, that it cooks easily. But number two, the bread has already been baked. For the Sephardim, we hold once something has been baked, you cannot cook it again. It's already done. That's it. It's cooked. But Sefer HaYerim says no, even though something has been baked, it could still be cooked because now that you put it in water, it's a new process. So he puts a khumra on top of a khumra. Khumra number one, he adds bread into the list of those that are easily cooked. Number two, he holds that items that have been baked can also still be cooked. Us Sfaradim, it's very easy, very simple. Once you have food in Kli Sheni, nothing can be cooked in it unless you decide to put a raw egg in there, which is not likely, or if you put tea leaves. The tea is the practical one. When we have tea, we usually do Kli Sheni. We don't pour from the samovar directly onto the tea. We pour it into an empty cup, and that cup we put into the cup that we are going to be drinking the tea. Whether the third cup already has the tea bag in it, or later on you put the tea bag in it, that's already machloket. Whatever you do over there is fine. You want to be strict, you could be strict, but that's fine. As long as it's not in the second cup, halachically you are good. So I hope that answered your question, Johnny. Yes?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Baruch Hashem. Very good. All right. Bezat Hashem. So we summarized, we have Kli Rishon, Kli Sheni. Kli Sheni does not cook unless it's kalei habishul, stuff that get easily cooked, like an egg or tea. Okay. Interesting case that Yalkut Yosef brings. Your wife made a cholent, and on Friday she came right before Shabbat. She took all the raw beans and the raw meat and all the raw items and put it in the cholent pot and put it in the whatever you call it, the thing that cooks it overnight. And now it's cooking. Your son came back from Bet Knesset and he says, "Oh, mommy made cholent. Wow, let's see. How come I don't smell the good smell?" And he opens the pot of the cholent and he says, "Oh, the items are not cooked yet. It's only going to be ready tomorrow morning." That's mutar. As long as before Shabbat it's been already placed, that's allowed to do. However, says the Yalkut Yosef, what happened now? Is that boy allowed to close back the pot? So you would think, why not? He's just closing a pot. But halachically, that would be a problem. Since the items have not been cooked yet, they're still in the process. When he's going to close the pot, what's going to happen? Is he helping it cook faster? The answer is yes, he's helping it cook faster, says Yalkut Yosef. In that case, he will not be allowed to close the pot. Right? So if you see that there's a cholent that is not cooked yet, do not open the pot until it is, because it would be a problem to close the pot, because it's called mezarez bishulo. You're making the cooking process faster by closing it. Since it hasn't been cooked, that would be a problem. And one last halacha in this topic before we dive into Hilchot borer, before the halachot of sifting. The discussion is, when I take from let's say I have now a pot of nachodo on Shabbat. So I don't just pour it from the pot into a bowl, right? I usually have this big spoon, the huge Persian spoon. You lift with that, and that itself looks like a little bowl almost, and from that you pour into. So the halacha asks, what is the din of that huge spoon? I don't know if you have a name for it. What is that called? Kafgir? Is that the Persian name? I don't know.
Yeah.
Chamche. Chamche.
Chamche. Oh, we have an expert over here. Hazaku Baruch. Chamche.
I think so. Igal can confuse the
I don't know if
Persian
it's that or
expressions.
not, but I like the name so much that we have to use it from now on. Chamche. So now I'm taking this chamche and I'm lifting up soup. All right. Now, is the chamche already considered kli sheni, or it's just something that's moving something from kli rishon to kli sheni? There's a machloket whether this chamche himself, if it's already kli sheni, then once I take it from the chamche and put it into the bowl, that's already kli shlishi, the third pot. Then there's no question. Even the stuff that cook easily.
What makes it a cliche? The volume of it, how much you take? I mean, that's the question, though.
So you're asking a good question. So the Yalkut Yosef says like this. He says, since you just dipped it and took soup out of it, now you can hold this chamche in the air. It's like another kli. That would be already considered kli sheni. So theoretically, in here already, there is no cooking. Now that I poured into the third bowl, how much more so? He says, unless when I'm taking that from the chamche, from the soup, I'm leaving it in for a while. If I leave the chamche in the soup in for a while, it became like the pot. It became so hot that now the chamche itself already is considered kli rishon, and it would be a problem to put something directly into the chamche. I don't know how realistic it is, but let's say someone wants to take some pepper and he wants to pour, he lifts the chamche and he wants to taste and he pours some pepper into it. So if the chamche is kli sheni, then the pepper, you didn't cook it. Perfect. But if the chemche is still considered kli rishon and you're pouring pepper in it, you're cooking the pepper. Says the Yalkut Yosef, it goes according to how long you left the chemche in there. If it was just a quick dip, obviously the sides of the chemche didn't come boiling to the level of a pot, and it's going to be considered kli sheni. And then you could treat it like a kli sheni. You could put seasoning or whatever you want into the chemche itself. He says if you want to be strict regarding the chamche and still consider it kli rishon, you're allowed to be strict. But the din is that it's considered already kli sheni unless you left it in there for a long time. All right. With that, we finished Siman Shin Yud Chet 318, the halachot of kli rishon, kli sheni, all the cooking topics. And now, Bezat Hashem, with the 15, 20 minutes or so that we have left, we are going to start Siman Shin Yutet 319, the halachot of Borer. So a lot of the times we want to know, where's the source? Where in the Torah does it say that you're not allowed to do sifting, you're not allowed to separate good from bad on Shabbat? What is the source? So Rashi says that the source was, I'm reminding you that whenever we want to learn what is melacha, there are 39 melachot, lametet melachot that are forbidden on Shabbat. Now you could see that there are a lot more, but the original were the 39 melachot that were done on the Mishkan, because what they did in the Mishkan was called melechet ha-Mishkan. So now we learned that melacha is what was done in the Mishkan. So when the Torah says don't do melacha, I don't know what melacha is. When was else written in the word melacha when I had to do it at Mishkan? Go see what they did for the Mishkan. Oh, they put up the curtains of the Mishkan, they built it, the wood, they fixed it, the sifting. All the melachot are in the Mishkan. So what melacha in the Mishkan was done regarding sifting or separating? So Rashi holds that they took something called techelet ve'argaman, right? It's the colors that they were using in the Mishkan. So they had a element of sifting, right? I guess when they would make the color, they had some bad things that they would separate and the good they would keep, and it would give them a nicer, cleaner color. Rashi says that that was the original melacha of sifting that was done in the Mishkan. Rav Hai Gaon, which lived before Rashi actually, he was one of the Geonim, Rashi was one of the Rishonim. And Rav Hai Gaon says no, the element of sifting in the Mishkan happened when they wanted to make the bread. They took wheats, and the wheats was mixed in the ground with dust. And so they would sift the wheats from the dust so that they get clean wheats to make the bread. And that action of sifting was when they did the original borer. So we have two different opinions. How was the borer originally done? But either way, we agree that a borer, a sifting action, is called a melacha, and therefore it would be forbidden on Shabbat. All right, so soon we're going to see how is this relevant to us. We'll see that there's so many cases. Maybe this is going to be the longest topic of Hilchot Shabbat. Very interesting, very practical. We'll see so many things that we do on Shabbat that we don't notice that may be borer, and we have to be careful about. Be'ezat Hashem. So there's a general rule. When it comes to sifting on Shabbat, if you remember this general rule, you're already halfway there. This is the main thing that you need to remember, that the way to sift that would be a kosher way, or the way to separate that is kosher, has to have three requirements. It's called ochel, bayad, umiyad. Let's explain each one of them. Ochel means when I want to separate two things, if I want to do it in a kosher way, I have to pull out the items that I want. I can't, let's say if I have a pile of a salad and there's also onions mixed in there, I cannot remove the onions because I'm moving away the things that I don't want. That would never be allowed. You always have to take out the things that you do want. So if that would be the case, you have to take out the tomatoes and cucumbers or whatever. We'll learn that there are ways around it. But the general idea is, first thing, you have to pull out only the things that you want. Second, it has to be bayad, which means in your hand. You cannot use a special tool that sifts, right? Imagine that when they were sifting the wheat, they would put it in the big sifter and they would go like that and all the dust would fall down and the wheat would stay inside. That's a kli miyuchad. When it's a special vessel that is made for sifting, even if you want to do it in a kosher way, that would be forbidden. You're never allowed to use a kli.
What about fork and knife?
Oh, very good question. Halacha says that a spoon or a fork is considered yada arichta. It's like your hand. It's a long hand. It's not considered a kli. It's considered like your hand, and therefore that is the same as a hand, and that is fine. It's like your hand. It's not a special vessel that is made for sifting. When I mean a special vessel that is made for sifting, I mean like a sifter. It was created in order to sift. That's when it's a problem. But if it wasn't created for that, then you would be allowed to use it. So one was ochel mipsolet, pull out the good. Two, you have to do it with your hand, or a spoon or fork would be okay as well. And miyad, which means right away. You cannot do those things that you want to do and leave it for tomorrow. If you're doing it now, it has to be because it's right before the meal. There's a discussion how much before the meal. Let's say there are some almonds. We'll touch the almonds soon, and I want to peel the almonds for the meal. So I'm pulling out. Let's call it that I'm pulling out the good of the almonds, and I want to put it in a pile over here. How long before the meal can I do this? Because yes, let's say I'm doing it with my hand, and I'm pulling out the good. I'm pulling out the almond. I don't want to peel. I'm actually the only way to reach the almond is by taking off the peel, and that's why we allow it. All right, but it has to be miyad. How much time before the meal can I do it? I have guests. I want to give them a plate with peeled almonds or peeled pistachios. Is that allowed? Halacha says, what is the definition of miyad? Some say 1 hour, some say half hour. All right, that's definitely the most that you could think of. Some even say try to do it as close as you can to the actual meal. But definitely not at 8 o'clock in the morning when the meal is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Start doing the actions of sifting. But I'm doing it with my hand. I'm not using a kli. It doesn't matter. It also has to be miyad right away. And if it's not done before the meal, it would be a problem.
Borer only regarding food items?
Oh, I was about to ask the same question.
Very, very good question. Chazaku Baruch. We are going to learn that borer is not only with food. Borer could be with clothing. It could be with tools. Borer is not just with food. Yes, good question. We're going to get to that, Bezat Hashem. Okay, so what do I do if I have, let's say, rice and beans mixed? Like in Hebrew, they call it majadara or majdara, the rice with the little lentils, and someone doesn't like the lentils, all right? So what did we learn? That in order for it to be kosher, you have to separate the good from the bad. So if I like the lentils, I have to take the lentils out. If I like the rice, I have to take the rice out. So he says that on Shabbat, that is the rule. On Shabbat, you always have to take the good out from the bad. But on Yom Tov, this is one case where we'll see there's a difference in Hilchot Borer between Yom Tov and Shabbat. On Shabbat, we use the rule. It goes by taking out the good. But on Yom Tov, no. You don't take out the good. You take out what is less troubling, what is less tiring to do. If the majority is lentils and the minority is rice, and I like the lentils, on Shabbat, I'm going to tell you, you have to remove all the lentils. Even though there are 99 lentils on one rice, remove the 99 lentils. But on Yom Tov, I'll tell you, remove what is easier. Yeah, Yom Tov is a Yom of Simcha, happiness. We don't want you to work too hard. The halachot are different on Yom Tov and on Shabbat. All right? By the way, if you are very bothered by what I'm saying, so I want to give you, throw a rope right in right now, and I keep on saying rice and lentils. Now someone is going to separate one by one, or rice, or let's say a salad with onions. Now I have to. So there's a shows. One of the solutions that we're going to learn at the end of all this is ways to get around borer. All right, and it's a long list, and you need to use a lot of those because they're very helpful. And one of the ways to get around borer is when you remove from your plate something that has bad and you want to remove it, but it also has good in it. For example, you want to remove a big spoon of lentils, but you also have a couple of pieces of rice in there or a couple of pieces of cucumber in there. Then I'm not really removing only the bad out. I'm moving the bad, but with something that I still consider food. And that would be a loophole in where you would still be allowed to take out stuff that you don't want because you're accompanying it with stuff that you still do want. So that's a good solution. So even if you have a little bit on that spoon, a little piece of tomato, a little cucumber, and all the other things that you don't want, since it's done together, that would be allowed. So we'll see that, Be'ezrat Hashem, but I just wanted to throw that in from now. All right. Now there's a question in the halacha. What happens if someone was borer, but not right before the meal? We learned that the way to do it is right before the meal. A guy said, no, I have guests today at 3 o'clock. I'm going to peel the pistachios from now. He comes, he starts peeling the pistachios. 9 o'clock, he finishes a huge pile of pistachios. His son comes back from Bet Knesset, says, Dad, what did you do? You don't know that you only can do it right before the meal? Now the father says, oh my God, I did something wrong. He says, you know what? Maybe I could fix it. Well, how could he fix it? I'll eat them all. If he eats all the pistachios right now, did he fix it or did he not fix it? On one hand, originally when he did it, he thought to do it for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But on the other hand, the reality is that he ended up doing it right away because he peeled it and he ate it. So that would be okay or not okay? That's a question. All right. So some say that it's not going to help that he eats it right now because it goes according to your original thought. In the time of the action, you thought to do it for 3 o'clock, you were over on borer. And some say, no, it would be okay. All right? So halacha says that since some opinions hold that it would be okay if you eat them right away, it's better to do that. So that at least according to one opinion, you covered yourself. If the halacha is like the other opinion, we're stuck. But that would be a good thing to do. Right? Now what happens if I made that pile of pistachios? Let's keep on running with this example. Because I thought that I'm going to have now 15 guests. I said, you know what? Let me peel for 20 guests. I like when there's plenty on the Shabbat table. Is that mutar? So if you had in mind to make an amount that they will eat and they ended up not eating, definitely there's no problem. You meant to peel only what will be eaten. But if you wanted to look like a very good host and you peeled double the amount that they eat because you wanted to look large, you wanted to make a good feeling to your guests, not that's negative, but on Shabbat, halacha is you cannot do that. You cannot peel more than is needed because you want the table to look full or maybe because you want some of it to be left over for later. You can only peel what you really think that they are going to eat. All right? So if you know for a fact that they won't eat it, that would be a problem. All right. Another case of someone that made a mistake. Avaru barar psolet me'ochel. A person, instead of taking out the good, which is allowed, he took out the bad. Can we enjoy that? Someone now took let's say he had a plate filled with peanuts that he wanted, but it also had over there raisins, and he doesn't want to save them mixed together, so he starts taking out all the raisins. All right? Now that's borer, because really, what does he want? He wants the peanuts. Though he did it with his hand and though he did it right away, but the third criteria is that you have to take out what is good. He took out what's bad for him. It goes by your opinion. I don't want the raisins, even if someone else wants it. For me, it's bad, unless I'm doing it for someone else. We're going to learn this. But if a guy that is next to me likes raisins and I don't, I'm allowed to take it out of my place and give it to him because it's as if I'm giving him the good because he will eat it. But now we're talking about a case where that guy's not there. I'm just separating because I want to remove the bad. I forgot the halacha. I removed the bad from the good. I removed all the raisins. The question is, now the guests are coming. Are they allowed, or maybe he himself, is he allowed to enjoy that plate of peanuts right now, or would that be a problem? Meaning, is this like cooking on Shabbat? If you remember, the last topic that we learned was cooking on Shabbat, and we learned that if someone cooked by mistake on Shabbat, he cannot enjoy it during Shabbat. After Motzei Shabbat comes, then he's allowed to enjoy it, but during Shabbat he cannot. The other guests, we learned that also. They have to wait until Motzei Shabbat, and they would be allowed. If it's by mistake, for the guest, definitely it's okay. But some wanted to say, no, no, no. When it comes to cooking, it's very different. When I took a raw potato and I cooked it on Shabbat, I made a change in the food. It wasn't worthy of eating before, now it became worthy of eating. There's a visible change. So when you do a visible change, that's problematic. But if you don't make a change in the food, then you are allowed to enjoy it on Shabbat. That's one of the halachot that we learned regarding someone that drove in a car on Shabbat and brought candies for his shira. We learned that you're allowed to eat from those candies because even though a sin was made, he drove on Shabbat to Knesset with the candies, but he didn't make a change in the food. And therefore, when people do that and bring it to Knesset, we don't have to force them to hide those candies or to put them away because that would be okay, at least to certain opinions. Okay, so what is the right answer? Is it like cooking or is it not like cooking? So the answer is, what is the isur here? If I'm now going to enjoy these peanuts, or let's say in the shul case, those candies, is it a isur from the Torah or is it a isur from Chachamim? Doing the borer is a Isur Torah. Driving the car on Shabbat is a Isur Torah, but enjoying the result of a Chilul Shabbat is only Isur Mechachamim. The Torah forbid you not to enjoy what was done on Shabbat. It just forbid you to do the sin on Shabbat. But if it's already been done, the Torah doesn't forbid you. Chachamim came and said, no. If someone did a Chilul Shabbat, I'm not allowed to enjoy that. So the Isur of enjoying these items that he just sifted, the enjoying the peanuts that have been sifted away from the raisins in a non-kosher way, is only a Isur from Chachamim. Says the halacha, since it's only a Isur from Chachamim, and we have a safek whether it's considered like cooking, that he made a change in the food, or it's not like cooking because really the food hasn't been changed, then we rely on that item and we allow you to eat it. But he brings, Yalkut Yosef, a few more reasons why it would be okay to bring it. And we'll see this a lot when it comes to Hilchot Borer, because there's so many machlokot in Borer. So we like to use as many opinions as we can to allow us to do something. At least if you have two opinions or two reasonings why you would be allowed to use something, you use that. So first of all, we have one opinion that says, no, he didn't make a change in the food, and therefore it would be okay. Another reason why it would be okay is because he can come and mix it again. He says, take the raisins now, throw them back into the pot. Okay, now since it's mixed again, it's like you're not really enjoying it, so do that. That's his recommendation. Another thing that you could do, and then you would be okay. Not everybody agrees that if you mix it again, it solved the problem. There's a machloket, the Ben Ish Chai talks about that. But since there is an opinion like that, so we'll do that, and we rely on both opinions. Maybe it still is okay because I'm mixing it with what originally was separated from it. I'm mixing it again today, so I'm not really considered enjoying it. And even if I'm enjoying it, maybe halacha is that it's okay to enjoy it as long as a change hasn't been made in the actual item. See what we did here? We used two wild cards to try and enjoy this boil that was done. Right. Now, so next halacha is what I mentioned before. He brings the case of rice with peas. All right. Now, I don't like the peas and I want to take them out. But he says, if my neighbor likes peas, I will be allowed to take my spoon, pull out the peas, and put it in his plate. Because for him, it's something that he wants. It's not considered garbage. Even though for me it is, we both gain. So that's another thing that you could use. What do I do if I have a bone in my plate? I'm eating and I like a clean plate and I finished the chicken. I still have the rice on the plate, but I want to knock out the bone from the plate because it's not comfortable, or the skin of the chicken. It's not comfortable to eat it. So halacha is that during the time when you were eating the chicken, since the way to eat the chicken is to peel it and to take out the bone, you were allowed to take out the bone. But that means that if you don't want it in your plate, you take out the bone and you put it on the side in the garbage or whatever it is. You take out the skin and you put it on the side. But if you took out the bone and left it in your plate, you took out the skin and you left it in your plate, now if you're going to kick it out of your plate, you're doing an action of borer, because that plate has good stuff. It still has the rice and the salad, but it also has bones. So once you place it in your plate, then you can't just knock that out of your plate because you would be taking out the bad from the good. You won't be allowed to do that. If you want a clean plate, in that case, you'll have to take a new plate and pull into the new plate all the rice and all the vegetables and eat. That's why Chacham enav berosho, you have to be smart. While you're doing the borer, if you know that it's going to bother you that bone stays in your plate, you have to take it out right away. And if you didn't take it out right away, wait a minute, finish quickly the rice and salad that you had in your plate, and then go empty the plate in the garbage, and then fill yourself with what you want. But as long as you have other food items in there, if you already put the bone or the skin in there, you cannot take it because, as we learned, it's considered taking out the bad from the good, and that will not be allowed. All right, the case of salad and onions we learned as well that he brings over here, that if you don't like the onions in the salad, you cannot take out the onions, you have to take out the salad itself, but we offered a solution. Take a few tomatoes out together with the onions that you don't want, and when you're doing that, you're not considered borer because there's also good in what you are taking out. How are we doing? Oh, sorry guys, I didn't notice the time is up. All right, Bezrat Hashem, we are going to continue from Hilchot Borer next week, Bezrat Hashem. Chazak u'baruch. Skol mitzvot, gentlemen. See you next week.
Zach Baruch, thank you,
Zach
Zach.
Baruch,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All too.
Bye-bye. Bye.